Today I'm going to preserve some whole figs, and I know that some people do it a different way and they might make their syrup first, but this is the way that I'm going to do it all at one time, a very slow process. I washed 13 cups of figs and put them in the pot, and on top of that, to those 13 cups of figs, I'm adding 10 cups of sugar. Now I know that sounds like a lot to some of you and not enough for some others. So it all depends on your preference and how thick and sweet you want your syrup to be. I also added a couple of dashes of salt, and I will be using 1/4 of a teaspoon of citric acid in each pint jar. I'm not going to stir this mixture because I don't want to break up my figs, number one. But the other reason is because that sugar on top of those figs is going to draw the juices out of that fig and make a really nice thick syrup. At this point, I'm going to put the lid on because that sugar and fig mixture will take care of itself and make a nice syrup. You know, some people would just leave it in the pot like that overnight and it would make its own syrup. But I do have my heat on very, very low to help melt that sugar a little bit and kind of rush the process. Here's where we are a few hours later. So I'm going to stir really carefully because I don't want to break up my figs. My mom used to make really good preserved figs this way. And my favorite way to eat them was right out of the pot. Take one out with a fork and blow on it until it was cool enough to eat. So that's why I'm trying to do mine just like hers. Now, these are not done. My syrup is not thick enough, and they're still green looking. So whenever those figs are cooked, they're going to be more brown, more like this one or this one. So I'm going to continue to let them cook, and if you cook them slowly, the syrup will come out better. I'm going to continue to cook slowly until I get the syrup to the right consistency. Isn't it amazing how much liquid came out of those figs? So I'm going to cook that liquid down until it makes a nice thick syrup. If you don't have a thermometer to tell you when your syrup is done, you can put some on a saucer and put it in the freezer for 1 to 2 minutes. Take it out and see what it does. If it runs too quickly, you need to keep cooking. If it runs like syrup, then it's done. I'm going to call this done right now because the temperature's reached between 230 and 237 degrees, and as that cools, it should be a nice thick syrup for the figs. I have my clean jars in my pot getting nice and hot. My figs are ready to go in the jars, and I have my rings and lids heating up on the stove. My jars are not regular pint jars. They're 12 ounces, and that calls for 3/16 of a teaspoon of citric acid in the bottom of each little jar. And I'm just going to put the fig preserves right on top of this, and there's no need to stir. Now I'm going to fill each jar. And I want to make sure that I get that juice all the way up to about a 1/2 inch from the top. So it'll look like that. Kenny's going to love these. He loves preserves, and the syrup that's going to come from this is going to be really good. I'm happy that we have some syrup left over. I'm going to bottle that, and we're going to use it on top of our pancakes and our biscuits. It is so good, and it tastes just like fig. This is the last step. The jars are in the hot water bath, and I will let them boil for 5 minutes. The fig preserves are done, plus I got a pint of delicious fig syrup.